about them Irish?
I can't take it anymore. I need a national championship.
This is the Four Horsemen podcast.
And that was our recap of the Fiesta Bowl. Anyway, welcome back, Golden Domers. It's been a few months. I'm joined by Steve and P-Wagon.
What up?
This is the Four Horsemen podcast, and we're coming back at you with an off-season edition. I'm pretty excited about this. We finally got around to it. I know a lot of our fans were asking for it, and I think it's, just life was busy and not much was going on, and we figured, we'll just do an off-season recap at one point. So here we are. It's great to see you two again. It's the dynamic chemistry we've got is just something. So, P, I'm going to pass it to you. What are you up to these days? What's on your mind?
Season 4. We made it to season 4. 4's up. No, just living my life. I quit my collegiate rugby coaching job to commit more time to the podcast. So I'm here, barring another suspension. I am here for the rest of the season.
Steve, how you been these months?
Doing great. Just living life as a freshly married guy. Me and P, for the new listeners, did get married last year. I actually have my delayed honeymoon, coming up in just a couple of weeks here. So excited for that. And other than that, just obsessing about Notre Dame recruiting. Happy to get back in the saddle with the boys. So,
well, that's great. Let's dive right into this bad boy. I think first things first, coaching staff. Is that on the itinerary? Did I remember that right? I think chronologically speaking, that was the first thing to speak about. Obviously, Marcus Freeman's head coach. We've covered that. We don't have to dive too much into that. But in the offseason, following the bowl season, Marcus Freeman put together a staff. It's his first ever staff. It's one that is, I think, highly regarded by most commentators. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on it. So I'll just do a rundown here. I got it up. So for our listeners, this could be a good recap. So the first, I don't know, where should I start? Dylan McCullough, running back coach from Indiana, had some interest from the Giants. He's going to be at Notre Dame this year. A big hire at wide receiver in Chancey Stuckey. That's he was only been a coach for a year, but the early returns on the recruiting there is fantastic. Gerard Parker is hired to replace McNulty as the tight ends coach. McNulty, of course, went to be, I believe, an offensive coordinator at Boston College, taking George Takis with him. So that's interesting. And of course, on the offense, there's only one name worth speaking about, in my opinion, and that is the legendary Harry Hiestand is back. Best offensive line coach in my lifetime, without a question. Very excited about that. And then you flip to the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Mike Elston leaves for Michigan. Poor guy. Just didn't get that defensive coordinator job, so he's back to his alma mater. We replace him with Al Washington. We'll see how the coaching is, but I know the recruiting returns have been good. And then Al Golden was the big last one. He's the defensive coordinator. He was linebackers coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. That's, I think, the biggest one to talk about. I think that's going to be the riskiest move, but I think that could pay off a lot of dividends. And not because special teamers are people too. And before P-Wagon kills me, Brian Mason was hired as a special teams coordinator from Cincinnati. Obviously, a great relationship with Marcus Freeman. And that's that. That's the coaching staff hires for this summer, going into this season. What are your guys' thoughts? Is there someone in particular that you're really excited for? Because I gave away mine with Harry, but I'm curious what you guys have to say.
Really, it's Brian Mason for me and Al Golden. Those are my two. Brian Mason's a dude. I've been reading a lot about what he wants to do. He brought in arguably the best Ivy League punter ever in John Sott. That's not hyperbole either. The Harvard coach said it. He brings in Blake Group. There's competition all over the special teams, and they want to wreak havoc. And then you have James Laurinaitis as well. I'm just pumped to have him on the staff. You don't get better at football by being around non-football guys, and James Laurinaitis is a football guy. Al Golden having the NFL tenure. He did great things at Miami. He was at Temple for a while. He coached there. But it's a solid staff from top to bottom, and you still retain Bayless. The one thing I really wanted to talk about, people defending Elston. We'll get into it later, but if you made one wrong comment about Mike Elston online, people were jumping down your throat. He didn't want to leave. He was a Notre Dame guy through and through. Like, shut the fuck up. He's the reason they blew a 21-point lead in the second half because he couldn't coach a defense out of a paper.
No. We already did the recap.
Sorry.
We did a very comprehensive, well thought out recap to start the show. So
it was the best recap I've heard from any.
He's at Michigan now. No one should defend him. So like, I love this staff. Chris O'Leary as a safeties coach. I know he was a grad assistant before. The players love him. Everyone. Chad Belton, the director of recruiting, he's getting people pumped to be at Notre Dame. And you don't get the people that we're getting, we'll talk about it, without people who love the Irish. So it's a great staff from top to bottom.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would just add before I get to you, Steve, because you were speaking of analysts there with James Laurinaitis. Chris Watt is back. He was a analyst 2 seasons ago. He's very close with Harry Heastand, so that's a big one too. I think he's going to do a lot on the recruiting trail and kind of be groomed into that maybe successor role. So that's something to also mention. But yeah, I love this coaching staff, and Steve, I'm very curious to hear your take on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. And I really like DeLan McCullough. He there's been some pretty decent running backs and a decent running game out of Indiana in the last couple of years. I mean, talk about being forced to do more with less there, right? You have less talent, less of an offensive line, and now he's going to be coming in behind this staff coached by Watt and Heastand or Heastand, however it's pronounced. So obviously that's exciting. Chancey Stuckey already has made such an impact just in recruiting. I mean, like, we have really stepped our game up and like from a point of where we were panicking about the wide receiver position just 4 or 5 months ago, it's now like, oh shit, like we're cooking. We have something working for us right now. And so it's going to be interesting to see over the summer, how much we can develop these wide receivers so that way they're game ready for TB12 to be tossing dimes to them all season long. But so we'll see how the development shakes out. But immediate upgrade at recruiting, and I guess I could say the same for Al Washington on the defensive line. And,
unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean he's been great. The talent we've been pulling in has been unbelievable. It's like it's almost like shocking the fact that our front seven, and especially our defensive line in the next 2 to 3 years is going to be like 3 times better than our 2012 national championship playing, not winning, but national championship playing team. So which was obviously Lewis Nix, Stephon Tuitt, like those guys. It's like, it's crazy. But obviously, I mean, it all comes back to Harry. He's the GOAT. The throat goat, like Harry, like, welcome home, baby, like I love it. I will do anything to keep you in perpetuity until you retire. You're the man. Anything you desire, I'm there for you, literally.
Well, and I think the offensive line is one where Notre Dame should never be as bad as they were last year, and that really cost Notre Dame a loss, if not. Well, we only lost 1 game last year, so the offensive line was a mess, but there's a lot of talent on there, and you see that with Joe Alt and Blake Fisher, just 2 monsters that are going to be tackles for a long time at Notre Dame. I know we'll get into the recruiting a little bit later with respect to 23 and 24, but I do want to say, if Notre Dame does land Jason Moore, it will be without question the best defensive line class Notre Dame has signed in modern recruiting history. I'd probably put it up. I mean, it's hard to gauge how the legends were as high school players, but it'd be one of the most impressive classes, I think, of all time for Notre Dame. So something to keep an eye on. And what's crazy is 2024 is close to matching it. So we're talking about Al Washington. Like, his recruiting is outstanding. It's astonishing how great that's been. And look, he was a linebackers coach at Ohio State and Michigan. And Ohio State, they let him go as part of the new staff coming in, and you'll see some comments about him, but he's best suited for the defensive line. That's where he played. That's where he coached at Boston College, and I think that's where he's found his home recruiting, at least. So huge stuff there. I'm very excited about the recruiting class. Gerard Parker's the one I don't really know too much about. I don't think many people do. He's a Marcus Freeman special. They knew each other at some point, and he was just trying to get him on the staff, it seemed like. So I'm very excited for that. We'll see how that develops with all the talent we have in the tight end group. So yeah, it's an exciting time. Pete, is there anything you want to kind of follow up with coaching, or are we good to get into our esteemed 2022 recruiting class?
I would just be remiss if we didn't talk about real quick the close friend of the program and my personal best friend, Tommy Reese. That's all. He's handsome. He's developing quarterbacks, and he's a great follow on Twitter. So if you don't follow Tommy Reese, what are you doing?
Yeah, Tommy's really a cult hero, I think, at this point, and we'll get into some of that in a little bit as well. Let's talk recruiting then. 2022, the class was signed. We'll speak to that. This was a good one. It was a really good class. It didn't finish maybe as strong as we were hoping, but it's a top class. I got the numbers up here. I believe it finished 6th in the country per On3. I'm just pulling that up now. Yeah, they finished 6th. They had an 82% blue chip ratio rate, which is phenomenal. Anything over 60 is basically how you win a national championship. So I love this class. It's not going to be as good as 23, which is really exciting, and it's still a really good class. It was close to 5th. So many talented players in this. So Steve, I know that's something you love, dear, is recruiting. So I'll let you take the reins on this. What are you seeing with 2022?
Trenches, man. Trenches, just unbelievable. I mean, so best defensive lineman in the class for us, Tyson Ford. 6'5", 260. He's out on the edge. Obviously, we're going to have quite the edge player coming in 23. So, but we'll kind of hold off for now. But even Aiden Gobira, he's just about 6'5", 230 on the other side of the football. In the offensive line, Emil Wagner, out of Ohio, to pull him. I guess Ohio State was quite all set with just letting us take him. Hey, sure, cool. We'll take a 6'6", 270-pound guard who's a pretty high-rated 4-star. Thank you, I guess.
He'll be a tackle.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he could be a tackle. He could be a guard. He could move basically on the outside of the line. I mean, the linebackers are unbelievable. Jalen Sneed, obviously being the 5-star guy, that's going to be kind of that game breaker. He's out of Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, one of my favorite vacation spots and golf spots in the entire world. So Jalen will always have a very special place in my heart, and he's going to be the centerpiece of this defense. But Billy Schrouth on the offensive line, Joey Tanona, who's going to, he's a 6'5", almost 300-pound guard, but potentially a tackle. There is some.
I'll just. I don't want to cut you off too much, Steve, because I think what a good idea might be is if we went by position group and just kind of talked about how we kind of view the class and how we view those players,
of course.
And what that means. So we'll start with the quarterback group. One quarterback was signed. I'm going to pass this over to P-Wagon, but it was Steve Angeli, a 3-star recruit out of New Jersey. I know, P, you have a different take on Angeli than some, so I want you to do the propaganda now.
Oh, Steve Angeli's a dude. He's a pro-style quarterback. He went to the best high school in the state of New Jersey. And it's not like, he went to New Jersey public school. He went to friggin'
Bergen Catholic.
That was cool. Steve and I have talked about that before. Bergen Catholic is the equivalent of Don Bosco Prep out in California, or Mater D out in California. He's a dude. He's a competitor. He is that guy. He's not going to be a Matt LaVecchio, higher ceiling than that. You saw him in the spring game. He knows how to win games.
It was a nice win for the blue and gold game. I don't know if you guys saw that. Well, of course you two did, but for listeners at home, Steve Angeli runs out. He's not a very mobile quarterback, but he rolled out and dove for the pylon at the last second to win the blue and gold game.
That's like a set of balls, man.
You know who else wasn't a very mobile quarterback but got it done when he had to get it done?
Jack Cohn.
Jack Cohn, Ian Book, Brady Quinn.
Yeah, I think Ian Book could maybe move a little better than some of those guys.
Facts.
But he wasn't touted as, one of those
Yeah.
sprint out quarterbacks.
I love this kid's size though, 6'3", 215, and
Big boy.
maybe he grows another inch, and I mean if he could be a 6'4", 220-pound quarterback, I mean he's a very high 3-star, middling 4-star depending on where you're going to be getting your ratings from. But Stephen Gelly, I mean he's going to be a pretty damn good guy to add some depth, and there's reinforcements coming down the line, as we just learned with the signing or at least the commitment of 5-star CJ Carr, which we can cover a little bit more later. And as we drink the Michigan tears, they're delicious. But
it just occurred to me why both of you guys like Steve Angeli so much, and it's because he's Italian from the north, just like you two. That's why you like him so much. I've cracked the case.
Yeah, I mean,
this kid got offers from Ohio State, Rutgers, Penn State.
Rutgers. I like how you put them right after Ohio State.
I'm reading them in order that he got them: Michigan, Nebraska, LSU, Michigan State, Northwestern, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Oregon, Pittsburgh, Maryland, Iowa, Syracuse, Arizona, and Stanford.
It's a good school there.
Yeah. So
if Stanford was better, they'd be a threat.
He's a talented kid, so don't just because he's at the bottom end of the spectrum in regards to our class, and just because he's a very high 3-star or developing 4-star. Ian Book was a 3-star. He was the winningest quarterback in Notre Dame history. So we never thought that we would see Ian Book, right? When he signed originally, it was just like, all right, we got Brandon Wimbush, we have all these guys, and Ian Book is just like this guy on the side that maybe he plays. Same with Tommy Reese when we had Everett Golson. It's like, oh, we got this kid out of South Carolina, he's got a rocket arm.
Nate Montana, don't you forget about the legendary Nate Montana.
Through 17
Barnett, who decommitted,
attempts in a football game, which we lost. I cannot believe that is a thing that happened. But the point I'm making. The point I'm making is don't sleep on him, and I guess we can move on from the quarterback position over to the running back position.
That's exactly where I wanted to go with it too, because there is a very special talent there that went way under the radar, and by watching or by hearing about practicing, by watching some clips, by seeing the blue and gold game, you can see why. And that is out of Texas too. How do we keep pulling these Texas kids? Jadarian Price.
Yep. He's going to be incredible.
Oh,
he's going to be incredible, dude.
He's a great player.
Yeah, so he's 5'11", 180 out of Denison, Texas. He's got speed. He can lower the shoulder. I mean, he does all the things that you want to do. Notre Dame is certainly kind of finding their guys when it comes to the running back position. They all tend to have a lot in common. The only person who I think needs to work on basically pass block coverage would be Chris Tyree, but he's a pretty big boy out of Virginia, and he's probably going to be putting on weight this offseason and obviously working with Coach Harry and Coach Deland McCullough, and he's going to be developing himself. But like JD Price, like this kid is he was a mid 4-star. There's an argument to be made he could have been a very high 4-star and potentially higher. Like
the COVID years really messed, I think, with a lot of ratings. Well, the rankings are already kind of messed up, as we all know anyway. I think they're, we use them as a barometer, but still, the COVID had a real impact on that. And I don't want to miss the other running back we signed after signing day. Very interesting. But Jabran Payne was committed to Indiana under Deland McCullough. And because McCullough is at Notre Dame, he was allowed to be released from his letter of intent, and he's now at Notre Dame. So I don't know too much about him. I believe, the On3 consensus has him as a 4-star guy ranked around 334 in the country. It's interesting. I'm surprised Notre Dame took a second back. Numbers are, I guess, a little thin, but they're talking about taking 2 in the next class, so that I was a little surprised with that. But look, you got to give Coach McCullough his freeway there. He recruited him, really likes him. You give him that freedom. So P? I know you're a little more of a run guy. What do you think of taking 2 running backs in this class after taking 2 the previous class and taking 2 in the next class?
Well, I'm not a recruiting expert, but we had no limitations in scholarships, right? It was like world's oyster, fuck it, we ball type of thing.
Not for the season. No, no,
okay,
you have to go back under.
That changes my opinion then. Jabrian Payne, he was someone who had an Alabama offer, who had a Boston College offer, who had an Indiana and a Notre Dame offer. He, looking at him and looking at his tape as you guys were talking, he's going to be a slot. He's not going to be a running back. He's almost like a
Interesting.
Jafar Armstrong type of person. Like he prefers that one cut and go instead of making people miss. So you could see him I would personally say, get him into the slot, do some of those play actions, those rapid motions, those jet motion type of things, and let him cook, because we are losing our workhorse there. Braden Lindsey's gone after this year. So you get a fast guy to do the same thing Braden Lindsey's doing. He may not be as fast, but it's going to be,
well,
that's my fault there.
Speaking of Braden Lindsey, friend of the show, I don't know if you guys have been following, but all the word on the street is that Braden Lindsey has had an off season. Like everything I've heard is this guy's gonna have he's gonna have a breakout season.
I fucking
that scared
love
me. I
Lindsey.
thought you meant I follow him on Instagram, and he's like at wineries and vineyards and stuff. And I thought you meant he had an off season, like a Michael Floyd off season or a Golden.
Oh no, he's apparently a different beast now, and I've always liked him. I always thought he was a good player. There was just, I think, couldn't get that opportunity right, or obviously the offense was abysmal at certain points under Brian Kelly. So I don't want to dwell too much on that. Let's talk about wide receivers.
Just a quick point in regards to taking 2 backs in 3 consecutive classes. In an age where anyone can pretty much transfer with the new rules, take as much talent as you possibly can, get as many guys as you can on campus, figure it out eventually. I think that's the strategy that should be taken with running backs, quarterbacks, the whole 9.
I agree with you, but I think Notre Dame got into trouble this year. I think they were expecting more transfers because we're over the scholarship limit, or we're right at the ceiling, and we're trying to maybe find a receiver in the portal, but I don't know if we can. So I agree with you, but I guess under Marcus Freeman, nobody wants to leave. So, take your talent when you can get them. I wish we were in the position to be refusing talent for wide receiver, because if there is one shortcoming of the 2022 class, it's receiver. It's not the person in it. I actually think Tobias Merriweather, who is the wide receiver out of Washington, 4-star guy, I think borderline 5-star guy, is a menace. You watch his clips. He's like 6'4" and can run, and he mosses people like at these camps. Like they have him against some poor cornerback, and he's just dominating people out there. I think Tobias Merriweather is going to play this year. We'll get into our who we think is going to make impacts, but the only problem is we lost 2 receivers late into the class. CJ Williams flips to USC, which sucks because he's a great receiver. And then Amorian Walker, who I don't know where, I always respect the athlete and the right to go somewhere, but I don't get why it was hidden this whole time. And then he flips on signing day and was telling the Notre Dame staff they were good, and then flips to Michigan on signing day. But it is what it is. Only one receiver. Steve, are you concerned, because that put a lot of pressure on Chancey Stuckey in the 2023 class, but it looks like we're going to meet those numbers. Are you worried, that this room's kind of thin, or are you just stoked to have Merriweather?
No, we're good. Trust me, we're good. We probably have 6 bona fide starters. We have 7 guys that are going to be in the room that can ball. So if we have to get down to our 6th and 7th guys because of injury, then I mean that it is what it is, and maybe at that point you start moving some tight ends out, or you just become a little bit more pass heavy. I mean, run heavy. My bad, but I mean we're in a, I was looking at Tyler Buckner highlights from last year today, because that's what I do when I need to get horny, and. So many 2 running back sets, and it's kind of like that, that H-back, tailback, cute we have so many tight ends, we have so many running backs, we have a stable back there that we don't necessarily need to have that many wide receivers on the field if we don't want to, and obviously I would like to have 3-4 wide receiver sets out there as often as we can, spread the field out. But with Buckner's dynamic run ability and he had several option plays last year that exploded for massive gains. It's like the way that the roster is at the very least for this year of 22 as we head into the season. Yeah, would have been nice to have one more commit like CJ from California. That obviously, very talented cat, but hey, if you want to go into a really explosive offense and be in really nice weather, get your NIL deal, but go 8-4 and just be at a pathetic, abysmal piece of shit program, then sure. I mean, that's your right. You can, go chase the money, but we'll chase the championships. So that's my analysis on it. Yeah, you'd love to have more depth, but I think we're going to be just fine with what we got.
You know what team had a ton of running backs and F-back/tight ends and not a lot of wide receivers?
Auburn.
2010 Auburn. I pulled up the depth chart. They had 7 running backs on their roster.
Oh, jeez.
They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 H-backs. I call them the F-back. That's my system. Fight me. F-back/tight ends. They had 10. And then the wide receivers, they literally just rolled students out there. Darvin Adams, Angelo Benton, Antonio Goodwin, Terrell Zachary. Like, I'm naming I could be making up these names for all you know right now. None of these.
Right.
Quindarius Carr, like Cam Newton won a Heisman.
Right, with those receivers.
The student body of Auburn.
Yeah.
H-backs and running backs. And
Cam Newton won a Heisman with some sweet Southern boys they pulled off the street.
Yeah, the coach went down to like the local, like, what's it, intramural flag football. He was like, all right, let me just pull the fastest guys and throw them on the field with Cam Newton.
I'm sure that's disrespectful to some of those guys, but I do want to get moving along a little bit. So the tight end group, we take 2. That would be Eli Raridan. I do believe he is a legacy.
Yeah, Scott Raridan. He was an offensive tackle.
And then Holden Stays. The two of them, Eli ranks 5th on the consensus for the tight ends, and Holden ranks 9th. So you have 2 top 10 tight ends in this class. Eli's more of from what I understand, a traditional set tight end. Will be kind of like your Michael Mayer, and then I think Stays is. He's
going to be more of a Tommy Tremble type.
Yeah, exactly. So I like both of this. We used to have, there was another tight end in that class, Jack Nickel, who decommitted. We wish him the best. I think he's at Michigan State. But man, what a 2-punch right there. I mean, the tight end depth chart is loaded. It's allowed Notre Dame to only need one in the 23 class. And unless you guys have something specific you want to say, I was going to move on to the offensive line group to round off this offensive recap here. So Notre Dame takes 5. It's a big class. It looks like it's going to be another big class this year. Like you said, Steve, Emil Wagner was the highest ranked offensive tackle out of Ohio. I know the issue their concern was if he could carry the weight at the level needed to play tackle at the college level because of his frame. But when Matt Balis gives me the thumbs up, that means it's good. I don't need to question that anymore because he's such a great strength and conditioning coach that you've earned that right to just listen to him. And if he wants them, you get them. So a big one there. Ty Chano to Massachusetts. I know that'd be a lot for you too. He could play tackle, probably can play guard as well. And then you move a little more inside. You have Ashton Craig out of Indiana. That was one of the later pickups, I believe, for the offensive line group. Could play center, could play guard. Big fan of him. And then you got the 2 big boys. You got Billy Schrouth and you have Joey Tonona. Wisconsin and Indiana, respectively. I think they both project as guards. Perhaps Tonona could play center. But Billy Schrouth is, I think, the jewel of that group. I think he's just him and Rocco on the inside is going to be a menace, and I'm really thrilled with this group. I think it's not necessarily as top heavy as the class before it because you look back and you see Blake Fisher and you see Rocco Spindler, but I think this class is way more deep than previous classes. I think you got 5 guys there who could play, so I really like it. But you guys, especially P, you love your trenches. So how are you feeling about that?
Steve?
Worth noting before I get into the analysis that Joey Tonona did have a pretty brutal car crash that happened. So he did have a concussion from that. Harry Highstand is obviously going to be working with him. So is Matt Bayless, just to get him back into shape. And obviously a pretty severe concussion is going to potentially put his career in jeopardy. So we absolutely wish for the best health imaginable for Joey. And ultimately, if that means that he never plays another snap of football, that would suck. We would love to see him in a Golden Dome. And we'd love to see him on the field and helping us win a national championship. But health is obviously going to be first and foremost. So best of luck to him on his recovery, and hopefully by midsummer and by summer camp he's going to be perfectly fine and knock on all the wood in the world, and as we wish for him. He
was the first commit, by the way, in the class, Joey.
Yeah,
so he's stuck with us. Really want to stick with him. So wishing him the best.
6'5", 295 out of Zionsville, Illinois. Indiana. My apologies. So he's an in-state kid. He's damn good. He's going to be a very, very good offensive lineman in the event that the health gets there. So we root for that. Billy Strouth, it was between us or Wisconsin, and anytime that you're battling Wisconsin for an offensive lineman, that's a really good. That's a good thing. And especially on the interior, he's 6'5", 300. He can move. He can push bodies. Like it's fucking incredible that we're putting together. The most important thing, you asked me at the beginning, what are your thoughts? It's depth, man. It's depth, because we saw that we had to burn through a lot of offensive linemen last year. And there was, we were flip-flopping, and it seemed like we had a new line every single week trying to protect Cohen, and then we couldn't, and then we would start slow in every single game, and then Buckner had to come be the spark plug, and then basically back the defensive backs off, so that way we could bring Cohen back in. And it was all over the place. Getting these type of guys on campus with arguably the best offensive line coach in college football and potentially football in general. The promise is so high, because 21 was a great class. 22 is a very, very good and very deep class. 23 is starting to become pretty foolish in regards to how good we're getting, and it's only getting better. So that's my read on the offensive linemen across the board. Again, Emil Wagner's awesome. Ty Chan out of Massachusetts is a monster, 6'6", 300 pounds. And hey, let's give credit where credit is due. Ashton Craig, he's 6'5", 283. He's a mid to high 3-star. So is Jarrett Patterson. And Jarrett Patterson moved to center. He found his niche, and he did his thing. And a lot of people are seeing the kind of a similar career trajectory for Ashton Craig. And hey, we'll iron sharpens iron. We have a great defensive line. We're going to have a very deep and very good offensive line. They're going to be battling each other, and all these guys are going to develop. So I'll close out my thoughts and pass along to you guys.
Well, before I flip over to the defensive side of the ball, I will say that there is talk that Patterson actually might move to guard. Apparently, Zeke Correll has had a dominating spring and offseason, and that could be something to monitor. But yeah, I think that's a great comparison in terms of being that 3-star kid who can end up being an All-American, right? The Notre Dame's made a killing off of that, and I think that has to continue. But you also have to supplement that with higher end guys and being willing to fight for those guys, and I think you're seeing that with the new staff. So on the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line itself at the time had 3 commits. It's now up to 4 because there's been a position change. So those are in order here of highest ranking. Tyson Ford from Missouri. Is he a St. Louis guy? Because Notre Dame is starting to really build a pipeline to St. Louis.
Yeah, he's out of St. Louis. John Burroughs.
Yeah, that's a big one. St. Louis is really putting out talent, especially in these next couple classes. So you got Tyson Ford. I think he'll probably be a big end. He could play defensive tackle, but I think they're going to keep him there. Maybe he's a Viper. I could see that because Aiden Gobara is, I think, meant to be a Viper, but he's a big boy too. He could move inside. He's, of course, from Virginia. Donovan Heinisch is from Pennsylvania. That's obviously the younger brother of Kurt Heinisch. A solid pickup. And then what you have is in fact, I think he was your second highest ranked linebacker, Joshua Burnham, is actually so big, and he's got such pterodactyl arms. I don't know if you've seen this guy. His reach is absurd. They're moving him to Viper. They really like him already there. So 4 is kind of what that class ends up being. P, you're suggesting to me 5. Am I missing someone?
Chris Smith from Harvard transferred over, 3-star.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean transfers.
Well, I'm
yeah,
high
so
on him.
I think that'll be a great pickup too. We could talk transfers in a moment, but just from the high school kids coming up, a good 4-man group there. I think Tyson Ford's excellent. I think Gabarra's got a lot of skill, like you mentioned earlier, Steve. I really like this group. It's not like elite. It's not one of the probably 3 best in the country, but it's a damn good one. And I think when you look what's coming behind it, it's an exciting time to be a Notre Dame fan. So, Steve, do you have any comments on this defensive line group, or did I kind of just cover all that for you?
No, you pretty much covered it. I think people are going to be very surprised at how good Aiden Gabarra is.
Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
he's a mid-range 4-star, and I think he's going to play much better than what he people are rating him as. Josh Burnham, I was looking forward to seeing him at 6'4", 225. Was looking forward to seeing him as like maybe a Mike or Will linebacker. But if he's going to fit that Viper role, he could probably stand up. He could put his finger, his hand on the ground and rush the QB. Seems like a guy that can kind of do it all. So, and obviously, we'll get to the linebackers a little bit more in a second, and we'll cover that. But it's deep. Again, it's all about depth. Like we did not have the greatest class in the world in regards to, pure talent that's going to be able to compete position by position with an Alabama or a Georgia, of course. But for what we are, for what we're building, for Marcus Freeman's first year on campus, we took a massive step from where we were to where we need to be. It all starts in the trenches, and we are deep because of that.
100%. I think this was building quality depth, and the future classes are going to be building high-end quality on top of the depth. So great there. Well, let's talk about linebackers. I mean, this I think was, if you include Burnham, I think it was the best linebacker class in the country. Ohio State had a really good one too, but I think Notre Dame's group is amazing. You have some severely underrated players there. So I'll just jump right into it. The crown jewel of the class per the rankings, whatever that means, is Jalen Sneed out of South Carolina. Nobody thought we had a shot with him, and that's a Marcus Freeman special. If Marcus Freeman wasn't the head coach, I think him and half of the class would have decommitted, especially him. But he is a freaky athlete.
Yeah, Jalen, just really quickly, Jalen Sneed literally specifically said in an interview, if it were not for Marcus Freeman, I would not be in Notre Dame.
Yeah, and hopefully his time at Notre Dame, he'll come to see why, we're bigger than just the coach. And I think that's kind of the charm of Notre Dame, is you get to kind of fall into that rabbit hole of love for the university. So yeah, Jalen Sneed, excellent pickup there. That was such a key one in Marcus Freeman's tenure. Then you look at Nuafe Jr. Tui Halamaka, linebacker, committed to USC, and within like a 5-day span of being offered by Notre Dame, decommits. Goes on his recruitment for a couple months, and then Marcus Freeman locks him up. And apparently he's one guy who kept falling down the rankings for whatever reason, because he was at one point like a top 50 linebacker. But the early returns on him is that he has been very impressive, and you might actually see him play as a freshman. So that's a great pickup. And then last but certainly not least is Nolan Ziegler out of Michigan. Grew up a diehard Notre Dame fan. I could see him being a Rover as well as Jalen, or I could see him being a Will too. Super athletic kid. Really nice pickup there too. So you talk about depth, Steve. I think that linebacker class is without question the best group of the defensive class.
For sure. Yeah, of course. And P, I'll turn over to you in just a second. Just a quick thought. I mean, obviously we know Junior and Sneed are going to be the real deal. They're both highly talented. Nobody sleep on Nolan Ziegler. Again, low 4-star, all things considered. High 3-star or low 4-star. He's 6'4", 210, so he's got a good frame. He could obviously, he can stay slim and just get very fast and ferocious, or he can bulk up and really kind of cover the inside. But what he reminds me of, and it is oh my God, why my brain is not working again per usual. Who is the number 23? He was the guy who tore his ACL a billion times.
Drew White.
No, Drew Tranquill.
Drew Tranquill. He reminds me a lot of a Drew Tranquill. where he's going to have a lot of versatility. But more than anything, because he grew up such a big Notre Dame fan, he has obviously a lot of talent coming behind him. He has two guys at the top of the depth chart, with Junior and Sneed. Never underestimate a guy who absolutely loves a school that's going to do everything, that fight as tooth and nail for a roster spot. Like this, he's going to fight, and I think he's going to develop very, very well. If he's not a starter, he's going to be a great depth guy, just like, like 4 or 5 different guys off the top of my head. That he just don't sleep on Nolan Ziegler is the point that I'm making. But P, I'll turn it over to you.
The junior from
Tui Halamaka.
I'm not going to learn how to pronounce that last name, so we need a nickname for him quickly.
Junior is what he goes by. So
perfect. That was my hot take on the 22 class of linebackers. They're all dudes.
Yeah, he grew up a Manti Te'o fan too. So
perfect.
Yeah, I quite like him. I love this group. I mean, this is such a great class, such great people in it too. So heading over to the defensive back group. I'm just taking a look now. I don't think we signed any pure safeties, but there is some versatility there. So the 2 big corners we signed, who are both criminally, I think, underranked, is Jaden Mickey from California and Benjamin Morrison from Arizona. That was a Washington Notre Dame battle, and Jimmy Lake is really good at developing and spotting good corners. So I wouldn't count either of those guys off. Apparently, Jaden Mickey's had a wonderful spring. He's apparently the biggest trash talker on the team already as a true freshman who's been there like 3 days. And then, I'm a big Morrison guy. And then, of course, the third man in that group is Jaden Bellamy, a corner from New Jersey. He's got position flexibility. I could see him playing safety. It's a really nice group. I like it a lot. It's not, like you said, Steve, it's building depth. I don't know if it's quite the Alabama and Georgia corners that we need. You hope one of those guys can turn into that, and I definitely have faith that they can. But I think the one area of recruiting that needs to pick up is corners, and we'll talk about that with respect to 2023 because that's been a rougher go as well. But the 2024 group is looking very promising. So, we got a great coach there in Mike Mickens. I have faith in him, but you got to see him win those big ones. And I think what this class does is it shows that he can recruit quality depth. And guys who could develop into that. So you got to remember, our best corner in my lifetime, Julian Love, was a 3-star kid. So don't count anybody out. But I really like the makeup of Mickey and Bellamy and Morrison. I think it's a great group. But yeah, there's more to build on that.
You know where Bellamy's from?
New Jersey.
Bergen Catholic.
Same school as yeah, exactly. And all of them. Everything you said, 100%. Yep, agree totally and completely. And just wanted to point out that just from a size standpoint, they all kind of fit that Notre Dame prototype that they're really trying to find their mold with. And that prototype being basically guys anywhere from 5'11" to 6'1", 6'2", and somewhere in like the 185 to 200 pound range. So they're looking for guys that can jam at the line of scrimmage, but also are just very, very lanky, very long, can disrupt plays. And remember, Marcus Freeman, pretty damn good at teaching guys how to play defense, and defensive backs. You think about, again, Kobe Bryant and the other cat from Cincinnati, like those
Sauce
are Marcus
Gardner.
Freeman. Yep, Sauce Gardner. Those guys are Marcus Freeman products. So if those guys are any indicator of what Freeman can do in terms of development, obviously he's the head coach, but he's bringing in the coaches with him and the staff with him. Don't sleep on these guys, and the fact that we got 3 of them, it's all good news, and the future's bright.
Yeah, you would have liked to maybe add another 1 or 2 in there. I know Xavier Nwamka was a big target that we didn't land, but you're not going to win every battle. But to wrap up the class, and I think it's such a great class. Ranked 6th in the country. I think that's very apropos. I think maybe some of the rankings for some of the players are off, but it's a near top 5 group. It's a really solid one. But to finish it off is Bryce McPherson, a punter who received a 6-star grade per Salyer, which is a kicking specific organization, I suppose.
Top kicking academy in the country.
There you go.
It is I don't know the right word, coincidence that he committed the day that I was at Notre Dame.
It's in the stars. There you go. There's another family for you to make friends with.
I already
Now that
am.
are
And Bryce McPherson, I'm getting on my soapbox here. He is a dude, but we also have John Sott transfer in. John Sott ran a 2-punter system at Harvard. Don't be surprised if you see 2 punters roll out with Brian Mason's punting.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I also wanted to talk about transfers as well, since we are talking, rosters in the offseason. The biggest one, and I think one of the best transfers of the entire portal, was Notre Dame picking up Brandon Joseph from Northwestern. Him too. You get this Northwestern safety who was, as a freshman, an All-American, I believe. He's been All Big Ten as well. He's not Kyle Hamilton, so relax. But he is going to ease that transition away from Kyle Hamilton. So before Steve cries at the thought of Kyle no longer on the team, Brandon Joseph is a dude. And as these guys have mentioned, Blake Group, kicker from Arkansas State, is now going to be at Notre Dame. John Sott, the punter from Harvard, as well as Chris Smith, a defensive tackle for Harvard. So those are the additions to this class and to the transfer group. So very solid all around. And as far as people we've lost, I'll just run through some names real quick. Lawrence Keys, Brandon Clark, Litchfield Ajavon, Shane Simon, Caleb Offord, Jay Bramblett, rest in peace, P-Wagon, Kerry G, Paul Moola, Quinn Carroll, KJ Wallace, JoJo Johnson, George Takis, and Sibo Flemster. And also John Dirksen retired. So
and Harrison Leonard. Harrison Leonard just transferred as well.
So my list is mildly outdated, but there we go. So that's the roster moves for this summer. I'm excited. I think we're going to have a great 2022 season. I am curious, because we do this every year, who are our pet cats out of this recruiting class? Steve has a really good history of picking them. I mean, Kyle Hamilton, of course, was his boy from the beginning. Addy was up there as well. So it's I'm curious. So who's your guys in this class?
Well, mine is McPherson, is Angeli. Everyone's going to say Jadarian Price, but McPherson, Angeli, those are my two guys if I had to pick out of the class. And then really for a transfer, it's Group. Group is going to be that dude. He's also my height, which is kind of concerning.
Yeah, if I'm going one on offense, one on defense, it's going to be back-to-back Aiden Gobira and Jadarian Price. Again, I don't think people are quite going to comprehend just how talented these guys are. And
yeah,
people are just going to think, oh, a middling 4-star that signed with Notre Dame, they'll probably get on the field for their redshirt sophomore or maybe their junior or whatever the hell season, and maybe they'll have a couple of good plays here and there, and maybe if they're lucky, they're going to be 7th round picks. Remember the names: Aiden Gobira, Jadarian Price.
Yeah,
they are both going to be incredible.
There's so many to pick from. I love the corners as well, but just based on what I've seen and just kind of what I like as a fan, I'm gonna go offense with Tobias Merriweather. I think that guy is just nasty. I can't wait to watch him play. He is going to, I think, have a great career at Notre Dame. I'm very excited for that one. And on the defensive side of the ball, I know it's cheap to take your 5-star guys, your highest rated guys, but I gotta say Jalen Sneed, just the way that guy twitches is just unbelievable, and I'm all for athleticism. He's gonna probably play Rover, but he could play Will as well. Gonna be fantastic. So that wraps up the 2022 recruiting. That's a big chunk. Respect to P-Wagon for sitting through it and opining when he can. What do we move into now? What's is it the draft? Was that what we missed next?
Yeah, draft.
Yeah, we got the draft. Uneventful overall. 2 Notre Dame players picked up. Kyle Hamilton, 14th overall, to the Ravens, which have fun having your new Ed Reed. He slipped a little bit. Highest Notre Dame defensive back drafted since '91. Kyron Williams, who actually recently broke his foot, will be ready for fall camp. 5th round to the Rams. He was the first Irish running back taken in the draft since Dexter Williams in 2019. I'm excited to see him on the Rams, maybe even more so than Kyle on the Ravens, just because Kyron has always been that underrated type of player, and I want to see what he does there. So I'm very excited to
Well,
see.
and his pass catching ability and his pass protection is going to be huge for the Rams, and McVay's going to love his versatility there. I think, look, Kyle Hamilton fell just because people didn't know where to put him. This league is stupid, okay? It's a stupid league. I think that's a fit made from heaven. Like the Baltimore Ravens, sorry, Steve, the Steelers fan here, is such a nasty defense, and you're going to add the best defensive back I've seen in my
They
life.
got a Hall of Fame pick at number 14.
It's crazy. A little disappointing overall for Notre Dame to only have 2 go. I know there's some others that were contending potentially for spots. The big one, of course, being Kevin Austin, who he left early. He didn't have to. Rumor is that he was given a round projection that was draftable for sure. And obviously that's heartbreaking. So that our thoughts go to him. He was a great player. I think he could have done more at Notre Dame, but wish him the best. I'm sure he signed someone.
He's going to make the Jacksonville Jaguars roster, and he's going to be their number 1 guy. They don't have wide receivers down there.
Yeah.
So
well, we get Cam Newton's friends maybe.
That's the local Jacksonville Y. And then, MTA signed with the Raiders, which I was pumped for. Myron's dad was a Raiders fan growing up as well. And as we know, his dad passed away before the season started. So they did trade away Khalil Mack in the offseason. MTA won't start right away, but he definitely will get on the field at some point. Jack Cohn to the Colts, proud of Sayville, New York. I really like him there as well. Isaiah Pryor to the Saints, reunited with Ian Book. Drew White with the Commanders. Kurt Heinisch with the Texans. Heinisch won't see the field this year, but he's going to be an all-pro. That's my bold take on the NFL draft.
Very bold. I unbelievable that Jack Cohn was not drafted. But I mean, he actually does fall into a damn good situation with the Indianapolis Colts, right? They've had a lot of QB turnover since Andrew Luck retired. I still am not sold on the QB room so far with Indy, and I think that he's going to have an entire summer and then eventually a fall camp where he can really just show like, hey, I mean, Jack Cohn he threw for like 30 something hundred yards. He had 25 touchdowns to just a handful of interceptions. He led a very successful offense, all things considered, and with a pretty damn successful season, 11-1 in the regular season. And then, we skipped our bowl game, which was tragic. I don't know why they just wouldn't let us have a bowl game, but it is what it is. I wish that it happens. But yeah, I mean, he had a Swiss cheese offensive line, and he very graciously split time with a true freshman, just to open up the run game and kind of open up that team a little bit. But Jack Cohn, I think, is the sneaky best free agency signing or undrafted free agent signing of everything. But yeah, I mean, Kyren, he's going to be awesome. Pass protects. He's impossible to tackle. I just crazy that he dropped to the 5th round. People were unimpressed with his combine, but that's a bunch of bullshit. Kyle, greatest safety in football history, and he's never taken a snap in the NFL yet, but he's just, I love him with all my heart.
I will say I feel like Jack Cohn projects better at the NFL level than Ian Book did, so I am a little surprised he wasn't drafted. I like Cohn. I thought he was great when he had time to throw the ball. It's just his issue is he didn't always have time and he wasn't the most mobile. But love Jack Cohn. I'm very excited for him too. Off season's a time to mainly talk about the schedule, which we'll get into probably more in August. It's an interesting one, or to talk about roster development, and that often comes in the form of recruitment. I'm sorry, P. You're looking at me funny. What's going on? Did I skip something?
No, Notre Dame's up 8-1. I was looking at the score on my other screen here. They're beating.
Sorry.
Tennessee.
Yes, Notre Dame's in the super regional baseball thing with Tennessee. Yeah, good for the Irish. Let's go. Recruiting is big, and I know we just finished talking about 2022, but something big happened yesterday in Notre Dame, and it's led to a catastrophe for a certain fan base in Ann Arbor. C.J. Carr, the grandson of the legendary Michigan head coach Lloyd Carr, who won a national championship or half a national championship at Michigan.
Let's
You-
not give them too much credit. Nebraska would have blew the fucking doors off them.
Well, all that being said, Lloyd Carr, a tenured coach at Michigan, his son and CJ's father, I believe, played at Michigan. I think his mother played sports at Michigan as well. Very much a Michigan family. He goes to Saline High School, which was in a suburb of Ann Arbor. Nobody thought Notre Dame had a shot here. And what do you know? Tommy Rees pulls this one out, and CJ commits to the Irish. Michigan is in shambles, although they have been. Anyone who's followed recruiting, Notre Dame has absolutely curb stomped Michigan all offseason. And this is just it. It's sweet. And CJ Carr, if you have not seen him, is a smooth athlete. You watch him throw the ball, very nice, very accurate. Tall. He's about 6'2.5", 6'3". He's got plenty of room to grow. He's a 2024 kid.
Yeah, he's a sophomore heading into his junior year of high school.
He's
Can't even
gonna be
drive yet,
cool.
and he's a Notre Dame commit.
Yeah, no, it's something. So that's something I want to talk about with you guys, because I think we're gonna have a show focused on recruiting, maybe with a special guest upcoming. So we don't want to get too much into 2023 and 2024, but I did want to kind of, touch on what's been going on. Heat check. You got a 5-star quarterback out of Michigan who has Michigan ties. What is happening, Steve? What's going on?
Reckoning for being a dog shit, bigoted piece of fucking shit, terrible, no good, dirty motherfucking school up north. You absolute scumbag pieces of shit. Who was that psychopath on Twitter that posted that video? I quote tweeted him with the pod account, and I just wanted to drink his tears. He's from Dallas, Texas, and I just want to drive to Dallas from Boston, Massachusetts, and I want to lick the tears off of his face. What's his name?
Yeah,
I need to name him. His name needs to get out of there. His name is what? Here we go.
James Yoder.
What?
James Yoder.
James Yoder. I want to bathe in your tears. Michigan fans, I want to bathe in your tears. I want to make it be known, Michigan fans, you absolute scumbag fucks. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth, you fucking losers. We are dominating you. You are nothing. You are pieces of shit. You thought you were cool because you beat Ohio State for the first time in 2 decades. You made the playoffs. You got the doors blown off to you. Hey, welcome to the fucking show, pal, because that's how it works. And now off the field, we're going to dominate you. We're going to kill you. You took our scraps of a defensive coordinator. That's our scraps. I'll shit out Steve Elson or Mike Elson, whatever the fuck his name is. I don't care. We have Marcus Freeman. We have an unbelievable staff. We are out recruiting you off the field. God forbid you play us on the field in the next 3-4 years. We will shit down your throat. You are a terrible, terrible program with terrible people, terrible players, terrible coaches, a terrible administration. You suck. You absolutely suck. CJ Carr is ours. Suck on my balls. That's what I had to say. So we're going to definitely have an explicit marker on this podcast, huh?
I think so. And, there's still like 2 years before Carr signs, so I wouldn't have taken that much of a victory.
No. So CJ Carr, to his credit, he did say, yep, obviously he's a Michigan legacy. He specifically said in an interview, you know what? I did not want to be in Michigan at all whatsoever. I wanted to spread my wings. I wanted to make my own way in the world. So good for you, young man. CJ, I love you. He wanted to commit as quickly as possible because he wants to start recruiting, not just for 24, but also for 23, and basically let the guys in 23 know, especially wide receivers or even defensive backs, right? If I'm a defensive back and I know I have a 5-star QB that I'm going to have on my team, one, from just a success standpoint, I know that we're obviously going to be competing for titles, but two, I want, when I'm practicing and when I'm in camp and all that shit, I want to make sure I'm getting the most elite throws against me as a defensive back. I want to make sure that that QB is going to be committing and recruiting the best wide receivers in the country to come to Notre Dame, or some of the best. So that way I'm going to have some of the best route runners with the best hands, the big bodies like Tobias Merriweather. I want talent. So from a defensive back standpoint, I feel like this is beneficial, and especially if CJ is going to go hard with recruiting, like basically everybody outside of on the boundaries, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, defensive backs. Get them all on campus, CJ. You can do this, pal. We love you. We support you. You're the man. Fuck Michigan.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
Jason Carr, CJ's father, played quarterback at Michigan. Yeah. He went 12 for 24 for 126 yards, 2 interceptions in his career. Another thing that will really ingratiate the Carrs to Notre Dame, he had 3 brothers. One, unfortunately, Chad, passed away at the age of 5 from DIPG, which was diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, which is a form of brain cancer. So they do a lot of research and a lot of stuff for that type of foundation. So it's a really sad story that happens with the Carr family, but looking at everything here, the Carrs are going to be very easy for Notre Dame to rally behind. So that's something, just going a complete 180 from what Steve was saying. It's definitely is something that is going to be a good pickup for the Irish.
Well, seeing Lloyd Carr in a Notre Dame hat probably made my year. That was a lot of fun.
The one that I photoshopped or the actual one? Because both were fantastic.
Both were fantastic. The one you photoshopped was amazing. I did refer to the real one, but I mean, well, the tweet blew up for good reason. I will say there is talk CJ might reclassify to 2023, which would make him part of the upcoming class. I don't know if that's going to happen. Obviously, Notre Dame's was leading and may still be. It's very unclear for Dante Moore in the 2023 class. We'll get more into that, I think, in a future podcast. But I did want to say something that makes me laugh a lot, speaking of Michigan, is obviously Notre Dame recruiting well. They had their Irish Invasion Camp, which is, they invite a lot of recruits, some highly rated, some like under the they're not as famous, things like that. And they had them camp out, and some offers go out and stuff. And CJ Carr was there. Certain big boys were there. Jack Larson is a 2024 tight end that I think Notre Dame will land. And then on top of that, and this is what makes me so happy, there is a very, very good receiver, top 150 ranked guy. Could easily see him being a 5-star one day. Cam Williams from Illinois. Here's the best thing. He grew up a Michigan fan, apparently, and he has been leaning, like, there are picks for him to go to Michigan, and immediately after that camp, it seems like he is Notre Dame's to lose. It seems like him and Carr have a good relationship. He absolutely loves Notre Dame, and it's just yet another kick to the teeth of Michigan, that they can not only can they not keep people who are fans of their program, they can't even get kids who are legacies of their legendary coach to go to their program. Michigan sucks. I'm so done with them. I don't care about them anymore. Right?
Real quick, this is what these fucking idiots get for coming into our mentions and telling us to join a conference unironically.
The only one who needs to join a conference is Michigan. Sorry, I don't value the Big Ten, even though it is probably the second best conference. I think conferences mostly suck. But is there anything else you guys want to talk about? I know there was a lot of recapping. We had to get all of our thoughts on things. P, I know you probably have a million thoughts. Half of them are probably not appropriate for any sort of medium.
I will be holding my thoughts in until closer to the season. All I will say is that the NIL has ruined college football for the worst.
I think it does need to be regulated. I'm okay with guys getting paid, make your money and all that sort of stuff. I'm a guy that's, very slow or kind of want to be very calculated when it comes to any sort of regulation. But it's starting to, it's getting out of control.
Yeah, but Notre Dame's doing fine regardless, right?
Like it's not about the Notre Dame thing. It's about Quinn Ewers being 18 years old and driving a Lambo, and he hasn't taken a snap for Texas yet. It's about Bijan Robinson.
I don't mind these guys getting paid.
No, they can get paid, but
it's the incentive that's the problem, right? It's you have to come to this school.
Yeah, I think there's got to be a cap. I think you got to, if you're going to get certain sort of benefits, then maybe you got to lock in for a certain amount of years, because if I'm a 5-star and, if it's all about money for me, as an incoming freshman, I'm going to pick whoever gives me the biggest deal. And then guess what? Oh, I just completed my freshman season and I'm a 5-star and everybody wants me. Just going to go to another school and I'm just going to, hold another school hostage for another big bag. And then they're going to pay me. And then, I just completed my sophomore season. We're on to my junior season. Let's get another big bag. It's just like, it's mercenary.
What USC did to the Pitt wide receiver. They chased a bag there. He went over to, I'm not even going to honor them with the names because I don't know them, but USC offered a bag. He took the bag. They have a high-powered offense. No offensive line. That's me whispering. And no defense. But don't worry. They have a running back. They have a wide receiver, and they have a quarterback and a douchebag coach. So where does that end? Texas A&M is paying for their classes. Shout out Nick Saban there. Only time I'll ever do that. They're paying for their classes to go 8-4 in the SEC.
Well, to be fair, Texas A&M is upfront paying for their classes. Nick Saban's teams have been under the table paying for their classes. Well, let's
but nothing's equitable. And college football has had the most priority since, college football started. But now it's not equitable. We can have a whole podcast on our thoughts on the NIL, but there has to be some type of regulation. And take a snap in college before you get a Lambo. That's my summary there.
Yeah,
no, that's good. That's good.
I'm getting absolutely fucking crushed this year with obviously a lot of the factors that a lot of people are probably feeling. So for hardworking people like myself and like my podcast hosts that are busting our asses to try to make it in life and we're struggling, and for these fucking kids that are 18 to just like be driving around a Lamborghini without a care in the world. I don't try to be jealous at all. I try to celebrate success. I want people to make money. I want people to be successful, especially, again, there is the element that a lot of these kids, unfortunately, are coming from not great either familial or financial circumstances. Right. So this is for a lot of these kids, it's life-changing money. And so I want them to be successful, whether or not they're at Notre Dame, unless they go to Michigan. But all things considered, it's starting to get a little bit ridiculous, and it's putting them out of touch with your average American.
Well, yeah, to hell with that. I mean, get your Lamborghini, kid. My only issue is they do have to regulate it, right? There has to be rules in place. There has to be, to make, like you said, you can't be holding schools hostage, but also there needs to be transparency with it. There needs to be caps. There needs to be something. It just seems like there's a lack of all of it, and that's leading to the wild, wild west.
We should pay them all in Canadian dollars.
Well, then they'd all be poor. So. And the Canadian dollar's doing all right now. It's not too bad. I think it's about 80.
Quickly,
I don't believe you.
I just realized that we had some listener questions that we should probably rapid fire.
Right, I totally forgot about that.
Okay, I'll hit that up right now. First one.
Hey, we could do a little longer of a podcast. There's no.
Yeah, I mean, it's the off season. It's the summer. People have nothing to do. You guys are coming along for the ride because, frankly, you're not getting another episode from us for at least another 6 weeks.
Yeah. So
well, I'm planning something. Relax. I'm planning.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be on my honeymoon from fucking June 30th to July 15th. So
we'll plan it.
Steve won't be podcasting anyway. Regisian 42, longtime listener,
the GOAT,
absolutely awesome guy on Twitter. He has a couple questions. We're going to rapid fire them. Yes, no answers, whatever we want to do. I don't know. I haven't read them yet.
Always have time for him, by the way. If you're listening, buddy, always have time for you.
Always. I know this will probably be addressed much later down the road, but Ohio State, do the Irish stand a chance? Dylan.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely yes.
Now that CJ is committed, we just talked about this. Does this affect Dante's decision to come here?
I hope not. I don't know. I'm not an insider. Some people think so. Look, you're going to have great quarterbacks ahead of you and behind you if you're going to a top program. Like, even if Dante were to go to Michigan, they might get that Jaden Davis kid in 2024. So I don't buy that. There might be something more to this that we're unaware of. Potentially other stuff that I'm not aware of. So we'll put a question mark on that. I hope not, but we don't know. It's just too early because nobody seems to have an idea of how this is going to affect Dante.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that he might be influenced by some other recruits. But again, we're not insiders. We try our best to be insiders, but we're not.
Yeah, and my only thoughts on the matter are, if you think you're the man, you're not afraid of who commits after you.
Yep.
Yeah.
3, Clemson. Kind of the same question as the Ohio State one. Do we have a shot?
Also, I just want to also say this would affect CJ Carr more than Dante Moore because you'd be behind him. So if anything, like the fact that CJ, knowing Notre Dame's recruiting Dante, is like, yeah, I don't care. I'm the dude. I'm gonna come in 24.
That's why I love this.
It should affect him more, not Dante. That's why I don't understand this line of thinking. I think there's more to this. Something is clearly happening, but I think it says a lot about CJ, and that's a lot of great stuff about him. Sorry to, I got to get that off my chest. It just doesn't make sense.
You're exactly correct.
Okay, so sorry. Do we have a shot with Clemson?
Yeah,
I mean,
we have more than a shot.
Let me rephrase that. Does Clemson have a shot against us?
Yeah. Like, who did that? DJ Ukulele, who threw for 400 and something yards as a freshman.
Well, at least you're pronouncing his name now.
He's regressed since then.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect. It's at Notre Dame. We don't lose at home unless you're Cincinnati, and that's only because Cincinnati was the best team ever fielded in the history of college football.
A night game at Notre Dame in November. Yeah, have fun with that, DJ.
Yeah, we absolutely have a shot there. We'll be underdogs in Ohio State, but I think we should be favorites against Clemson.
Number 4. Some people have been saying that ND and the ACC are in serious talks of getting the Irish in conference. What is the likelihood of Notre Dame joining? I personally wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it either. It would make sense because of all the other alignments. I think everything but hockey is ACC, but you don't need a conference. Someone yelled about that a couple things up, so I'm not going to address that. But no idea if it's likely or not, but we'll see.
I will say that I don't see the point in doing this before the playoff expansion because the playoff expansion as it is designed would guarantee Notre Dame almost always a spot. You know, you wouldn't get the bye, which sucks, but the trade-off is if you go to 12, which is what Jack Schwarbrick's fighting for, Notre Dame's going to be in that, right? Like almost always, the way we're recruiting, the way we've been playing. So I don't see, there's no need to go to any conference, in my opinion, no matter what the price is. And I think Notre Dame starting up this Fighting Irish TV thing is another source of revenue. I'm not worried about it. Maybe it happens, but I don't want to see it, and I just knowing Notre Dame's history and Jack and stuff, I can't see this one happening.
Steve, go. You haven't talked in a little bit.
Oh, well, thank you for noticing. No, I mean they shouldn't. Dylan, you're exactly correct. I mean, 12-team playoff. If Notre Dame's 10-2, there's you still have an 80% chance or higher of making the playoff. And do you think Marcus Freeman with these recruiting classes are going to go 10-2 or better? Like it's playoffs every year. So, and in terms of a bye, I don't give a fuck. Play more games. Fans love it. Players love it. And yeah, of course you risk injury, but it's like if we're fielding a team and we think that we're national title contenders, what do we care that we have to play another game against, I don't know, Utah?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I don't fucking care. Play more games.
The only way that they go is if the SEC creates their own playoff, like they were talking about this year in the meetings. That's the only way Notre Dame goes to a conference.
Yeah, they have to be. To me, you have to be forced out of.
Yeah, you're gonna. Yeah, exactly, correct.
Although I think the NCAA will be dead before we see that. To be honest with you, I think we're much closer to everybody saying to hell with this and like let's start a different organization.
Is there going to be like a live golf of the NCAA?
Specifically backed by us. Now going from there, Benny, longtime listener, not afraid to share his opinions at all.
Love Benny.
Love Benny.
Huge troll of Michigan people, which is the best because I think he also lives in Michigan, which is even better.
Yeah, I think so.
Benny,
I love Benny.
Benny has one question with 3 bullet points regarding OSU, which I would take to mean Ohio State. Do you think we win? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think it's close?
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's close.
No.
Come on.
Yeah.
Nope. Notre Dame by 17.
All right.
Do you think it causes us all a lot of stress?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Notre Dame, baby.
We're 4 years in, of course. James Fitzsimmons. James F. I'm not going to dot you on here, but James Fitzsimmons with a 4-leaf clover. Who do you think is next player to commit due to CJ's commitment?
Due to? I don't want to say due to, because I feel like these kids, they come to their own decisions Anyway, well, the next one in line was Elijah Page, who just committed at 3 p.m. Today, which is Friday. The next one, I think it could be Cam Williams in the 24 class. I could see that. In the 23 class, oh man, there's so many that are ready to pop because I don't know if we spoke about this.
Jeremiah Love cat.
Jeremiah Love's a good. I don't know how close he is, but he's one that we're really in on. Charles Jagasaw is one we've been waiting for a little bit now. I think he's got a visit set up. I will say, sidebar, this weekend is the biggest weekend in recruiting for Notre Dame of the year. There is like 1 million recruits taking their official visits, and it's with the current class and it's with their top targets. So we're going to see some fireworks literally this weekend. My guess would be 2024 kid maybe. In the 2023 group, there's just too many. Steve, I know you follow it pretty closely. Do you have a name in mind?
For which year? 23 or 24?
23. Like, who do you think the next 23 guy might be?
Sorry if you guys hear my fucking little rat dog in the background barking. No, I mean, it'd be cool if we can start to make some way on Jeremiah Love. He's an athlete, again, out of St. Louis. He's incredibly talented. I don't know. There's still so many moving parts, and it feels like a lot of these guys are usually going to play out at least late summer. I feel like end of July, early August is when you tend to see guys really start to lock in. The fact that Notre Dame has so many commits at this point, this early, is baffling to me, and that's why I'm so high on head coach Marcus Freeman and so high on this staff. I'm just like, damn, like we are putting in work. It's pretty rare for us to be this set up this early, but I don't know, man. I can't really pick anybody in particular. I just know that the future is so bright.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard, but we're not insiders, so we don't have it's not like we know. We're just taking guesses.
For what it's worth, if we ever get any recruits or if we ever get any Notre Dame players that do listen to this and they engage with us every once in a while on Twitter, if you guys want to give us inside information, DMs are fucking open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All right. Like if
we have a full call center staff waiting to take.
I could be at dinner with my wife. If you DM me, I will run away from that dinner table and I will talk to you immediately. My wife can wait. I do not fucking care.
Captain Notre Dame, Drake Bowen, has liked a few of our tweets. So, if he's out there.
And remember, we were expecting to break the Marcus Freeman news. So. We are a reputable source. James also had a question about Michigan seeming more confident to get more now, but we've talked way too much about Michigan in this podcast. So James, I'm sorry, we're not going to answer that one.
Anybody who thinks they know anything about the more commitment is just crazy at this point. So
finally, my favorite Twitter follower, Irish Eyes 24, completely hilarious woman. I hope she's a woman. I would assume so. I think so.
Yes.
I apologize if I misgendered you. Do they teach any American history in Canada?
I was thinking about that because I did see the question. I know this follower as well. She is a Celtics fan like myself, so go Celts tonight. Let's win this one. You learn so much about American history and culture just through consuming American media, right? So I used to watch TV shows that would, often reference American history. So you kind of learn it informally. American culture is so dominant that our TV shows are your TV shows. You know what I mean? We watch the same stuff. And with social media, it's so prevalent. So you just kind of know American history. Do they teach it in particular? Not really. I don't remember nothing too in particular. You talk about the Cold War and stuff, but there's no specific class or anything. I took a course in university on American history, which was a lot of fun. But I would say Canadians know American history because of that. It's July 4th. We know this stuff. Right? It's things that just are across cultural boundaries. But not particularly this is American history and Lincoln freed the slaves and it's not really you learn that through watching TV shows, right? There's not a specific. I mean, you barely learn Canadian history, so
same with us.
Yeah, if there's anything that we know about the school system is that's fantastic.
And those were our questions for the evening. We have over 3,000 followers and not a lot of questions. So let's work on that, guys. That's your coaching point for this next podcast.
Yeah. And
Well, it was a Friday afternoon when we put it out. It's not like we had, we didn't get peak hours for people to respond with
I
questions.
want them
Nor
to
is there
be-
anything to talk about.
I want them to be ready at all times.
yeah, and just to expound upon that, and I think we could probably close out here soon. And if you're still listening, thank you. And if you're listening at all, thank you. You did mention that we're up to what, 3,200 followers, and we were just at it feels like 2,000 followers just recently, and we're we're skyrocketing, and we're projecting to be above 4,000 followers by.
We're a Twitter account first, a podcast second.
Yeah, we're just three idiots tweeting into the void, hoping you guys will actually click the link and listen. But seriously, for our returning listeners, thank you guys so much. We appreciate the ongoing support. We appreciate the engagement. For new listeners, engage with us as often and as much as you'd like. You never are ever going to annoy us. We love it all. You'll tweet at one of us, or you'll tweet at the pod account. You could get 3 different responses from 3 different idiots. But if you are new, or if you're a recurring listener, whatever, if you guys could just give us a rating, preferably 5 stars. We try to bring the heat as much as we possibly can, as you heard during my Michigan rant. But we do a ton of research. We're talking day in, day out, 24 hours a day, literally 365 days a year. The 3 of us are talking about Notre Dame football. It consumes our lives, and we do a ton of research. We have spreadsheets. We have Google documents at this point, all just dedicated to us trying to be as knowledgeable as possible, so that way we can pass it along to you. And if you could share the podcast, if you know someone in your life that is a Notre Dame fan, I'm sure you do, because we tend to travel in packs for safety. Just send the podcast over to them. Be like, hey, listen to these funny fellows. Just give a quick update and a quick state of the union of Notre Dame fighting Irish football. So, thank you so much to everybody. Rate, subscribe, review, and yeah, we're
There's
everything.
Also, support. You can contribute to our podcast now.
You can
on Twitter and on Anchor. You can make a contribution, and we'd really appreciate that. Steve, I'll let you go back into it.
Yeah, no, because this is a 365 job. If you guys can find it in your hearts to throw us a couple bucks, it just helps. Just helps turn the gears behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I totally am not just turning it back on right now.
Did you have it off?
I had to for tax purposes, so I'm turning it back on now.
Oh, you jackass!
Hey, taxes, finance.
The purpose of
Do I
it.
have to edit this out?
No, we're good. We're good.
Did you commit to a crime right now?
No, I just didn't want someone to donate to me, and then I would have to put it on a 1099 form. And American tax code is very complicated, Dylan.
Yeah.
Right. You weren't hiding anything. You were just avoiding getting extra money.
I was avoiding more work. Yeah.
All right, you're good. Okay.
But
it'll be back up now.
Contributions that you guys are able to give us, it honestly, it literally is just going to recently this past year we updated our logo, so that costs a little bit of money, and it goes to equipment like our microphones. It goes to targeted ads on both Instagram and Twitter just to try to grow. So it's all reinvestment. It's not like we're making a ton of money or anything like that. So if you can, that'd be cool. But more than anything, just share, comment, subscribe, DM us, tweet at us, follow us on Instagram. Again, I got to be better at posting more content on that. But again, from the bottom of our hearts, I can say thank you everybody for listening, tuning in, and being fans.
4 years in, we started. We didn't know what we were doing. We kind of know what we're doing now. You listen to us. People put us on highlight tapes and shit. Like we're gonna go into Tommy Reese's office, which is awesome. Keep doing that. Let's keep doing what we're doing. We do this for fun. If you have it in your heart, our old sponsor, Dwindle, head over to their website, dwindle.com. Look for a job. Help my friend out there.
They're not even paying us anymore.
Free ads, baby.
It's a free ad. It's the only free ad.
Clearly, we're a shrewd business operation here.
Yeah.
But no, really, thank you all for listening. 4 years in, we wouldn't do it if people didn't listen.
I agree, guys. It's great to see you guys again on the digital screens. It's life's crazy, and we're just glad that we get to do this, and we have a platform. And to all the listeners, like Stephen P said, we love you, appreciate it a lot. And I think that's it for this episode. We're gonna have hopefully something a little more frequently, but you know how it is with us. the off season is slow, and then we get really into it in the season. And our Twitter account at Horsemen Pod is where a lot of the action is. So make sure to follow us. And like Steve said, rate 5 stars, share, all that fun stuff. And yeah, that's it. Anything else, guys?
Go Irish, beat Ohio State.
I think that we had probably the best Fiesta Bowl recap in football history or podcast history. But other than that, Thank you, everyone. Go Irish.
Michigan sucks. Go Irish.